Introduction. One of the most important ethical issues in information technology or IT is privacy because IT makes it possible to track anyone doing anything in the developed world. A government is racing to issue guidelines and regulations that pertain to the privacy of information. These guidelines are focused on an individual's right to control the collection, use, and dissemination of personal information. The protection of privacy is an ethical concern and obligation. This is especially true regarding personal medical information, credit cards numbers, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, legal data, and financial information. However, ethical issues regarding privacy abound and cannot be completely resolved with legal rules. These issues require human morals and attention. This chapter addresses the ethics of privacy in the information age. It begins with a discussion of the laws currently in place that address the legal matters of privacy. After the initial legal discussion, this chapter addresses the topics of tracking private information, surveillance, workplace privacy, the rights of individual identity theft, web instructions, internet forums, and cyber stalking. It addresses the topics of it then discuss privacy policies and standards. The remaining chapters of this book address internet privacy issues such as web instructions, internet forums, cookies, and cyber stalking. So, privacy and the law. In 2003, the American Bar Association implemented a change stating that lawyers could disclose their clients' secrets under a number of circumstances. The first law to address privacy was the Electronic Communication Privacy Act (ECPA) of 1986. The Patriot Act has revised existing laws to address the pressing matters of national security. One could write volume discussing the specific ethical and moral implications of the Patriot Act. One could also spend a comparative amount of time delving into criticism and the potential or big brother implications of this law. Privacy myths. Privacy is a rapidly evolving field, and if you are a manager or decision maker, you have an ethical responsibility for the good of your organizations to keep up. As an example, it is clearly of use to all of us that we need to protect any private information our organizations collect about children. However, a number of organizations did not formally assist and strictly follow the privacy policy and implementations, and then suddenly found themselves the target of Children's Online Protections Act (COPA) lawsuit. One of the best ways to keep up is to sign up the Privacy Beats, a free weekly report on privacy news worldwide available from unfunded federal mandates. What if you cannot comply even if you wanted to? You lead an IT development team for a financial institution. You realize that to comply with a number of new laws and regulations to privacy such as the Patriot Act and anti-terrorism mandates, you require a staff of programmers 10 times your current size. Everyone knows it is mathematically impossible to comply with these new and changing regulations. To what extent it is appropriate for you to inform your senior management that not only is the business non-complaint, but it cannot become complaint conservative. Failing to comply with legal mandates such as the Patriot Act is not acceptable. You must inform senior management that they need to find the funding to hire the additional staff necessary for compliance with these legal issues. Liberal, it is unrealistic for most business to hire the staff necessary for exact alignment to government mandates. Very few organizations can afford the staff necessary to comply with all the new privacy acts. Senior management knows this reality. If they ask, you must answer them honestly. However, if they do not ask, it is not your ethical responsibility to bring this matter to their attention. One of the struggles facing businesses today is having the financial and human resources to comply with the privacy regulations set by the government. If you are in IT management, you must decide whether to disclose this fact to senior management or not. The ethics of this matter are manifold. Disclosing the information will build stress into your job, but you must stand firm on the resources necessary to get the job done. Disclosure of private information. What's your responsibility? You are a new IT management manager for a company, which historically fails to disclose the existence of systems containing private information and the way it is used. Should you should you now disclose this information or keep to the existing practices? Conservative. It is your responsibility as the IT manager to comply with government regulations. Just because the business has not previously disclosed system containing private information does not mean that you should stick to the policy. Liberal. Even though there are laws in place that require the disclosure of systems containing private information, big businesses are fighting this matter. You must respect the privacy of your business and their customers. There are contradictory rules regulating such disclosure of information. Some businesses opt toward right alignment with the newest privacy laws, whereas others are fighting to protect the system with private customer information. Privacy complaints. What if it is a matter of national security? The Electronic Privacy Information Center, or EPIC, filed a privacy grievance with the U.S. Department of Transportation against an airline company. The grievance stated that the airline business allegedly engaged in unmerited and misleading practices by disclosing millions of passengers' records to the federal government. Imagine you are the decision maker at the JetBlue. It is a cold hard fact that Islamic extremist terrorists extend to utilize jet aircraft as weapons and distractions. Representative of the U.S. government Transportation Security Administrations are in your office asking for customers' data that you know should be protected. How do you weigh the protection of individual against your own personal privacy? Conservative matters of national security must override individual privacy. This is especially true with airlines, which are primary means for terrorism. Liberal, there should never be a sacrifice of individual privacy at any expense. The federal government broke the spirit, if not the letter of their own privacy laws. If business and the government strip away all personal privacy, we will all be living in a world where the individual is not valued. This is a huge topic of debate right now. A satisfactory common ground is nowhere in sight at this point. Determining which is more important, national security or individual privacy, and impossible. The only right answer is that they both are critical. That being the case, we must determine how to balance the two so that neither is compromised. JetBlue's privacy policy. Needless to say, the whole TSA JetBlue event was a black eye for the company and for TSA, and that always leads to soul searching. A soul searching combined with decisive action leads to a more ethically grounded company. If you were to visit JetBlue's wage page today and read their privacy policy, you would be quite impressed. The January 2004 edition is one of the best written and most comprehensive policies on the internet. Tracking private information. The privacy of customer information and activities contains loaded ethical issues. This section addresses customer privacy in relation to such ethical matters as the use of radio frequency IDs for marketing, using private information about customers, respect for customers' privacy, and default cookies. As a general rule, all technology related to communications lead to the exposure of private information. In general, as consumer, we cannot avoid the use of communication technology, so that ethical responsibility falls on the shoulders of the collection of the information. Radio frequencies IDs for marketing. It is okay to track a consumer. You run a store that embeds radio frequency IDs or RFIDs into shopping carts, which are small and expensive chips used to track the shopping habits of the user. In order for this to happen, the user must pay with a credit card or utilizing a loyalty card to reduce their bill. Is tracking the shopping habits of consumers through radio frequencies IDs an ethical practice? Conservative. Embedding RFIDs into shopping carts is a direct invasion of personal privacy. Not many people would want their shopping habits stored in a database, which later may be sold to other stores. These actions result in a bombardment of aggressive advertising direct towards the consumer. Liberal, tracking consumers' shopping habits already occurs with online shopping e-commerce sites such as Amazon.com or any online catalog. Many consumers find this type of data collection useful because the site make a recommendation based on your shopping history. You are always presented with fresh ideas for books and music you would not ordinarily discover. Feelings about personal privacy and the consumer vary greatly depending on whom you speak with. Some people could care less. Others are very passionate about the privacy of their personal shopping habits. Privacy in a technological world. It's pretty obvious that privacy is a big concern in this day and age. The question that remains is whether anything is really private at this point. Anyway, not to take too paranoid of a view on things, but almost any activity performed by an American citizen is recorded or logged somewhere. The only privacy available is the restriction on who can collate and view all of your activity as compared to just the portion that a specific group is watching. For example, your credit card company keeps track of every purchase you make. Your grocery store tracks your purchases by credit card or discount card. Your vehicle locations are tracked by where you fill up for gas, traffic cameras, or GPS system. Your home security company hacks the times that you arrive or leave your home. All of this is somewhat incautious if taken individually, but just imagine what someone could find out about you if they had access to the information that all of these sources maintain. Paranoid and fear of Big Brother is a bad thing, but it's probably a good idea to be aware of what could happen if people stop fighting for privacy rights and all of this information was available to the highest bidder. Private information about customers. What about reselling their information? Your work for an e-commerce internet business. A customer places an order and you fail to inform them that your company sells customers' information to third parties. This results in the disclosures of their private information to a third party of marketing purposes. It is morally appropriate to use a customer's information for marketing purposes without their knowledge. Conservative, using and selling customers' information for marketing purposes is not ethical. This is doubly true when you do not disclose to the customer that their private information entrusted to your e-commerce website will receive this type of exposure. Liberal marketing has been in existence ever since the beginning of business. This is not a new practice. The only thing different is the new technology. The issue describes the foundation of marketing principles that have been in existence a very long time. While it is true that marketing strategies such as the method mentioned in this issue have been in existence a very long time, the speed by which this information disseminates is dramatically different. In the earliest days of marketing, businesses utilized customer information. However, this procedure was by word of mouth in a much smaller product market. Today, when customers' information is transferred to a third-party vendor, that data could end up in the hands of thousands of businesses worldwide. Some of these businesses are reputable whereas others have malicious intent. Even in the case of a reputable business, the sheer volume of advertisement unleashed on the customer as a result is overwhelming. Respecting customers' privacy, sneaky businesses. You work for an intrusion detection company and sign up for a 3-month account with anonymizer.com to do some analysis of competitor's product under the veil of anonymity. When the 3 months ended, you receive an email message that your subscription would be renewed automatically if you do not unsubscribe. You are so busy you forgot to cancel the subscription, which is precisely that the company hoped you would do. After receiving the notice for the second 3 months, you take immediate action. Unfortunately, they will not allow you to send a simple unsubscribe response. You have to go to their website and enter a bunch information. Again, the ploy was to make it more involved for the user. The website requested all of your identifying information, including name and the credit card you used to subscribe. Are these type of ploys ethical? Conservative. This type of business ploy is tacky and unethical. If you come across something like this, cancel the service via telephone and directly inform them of their security gaffe. Liberal. Although this ploy is tasteless, it can be effective. However, the effectiveness is negative. The company may retain customers in the manner, but they will not be happy ones. Some e-commerce sites push the limit in terms of keeping those monthly charges billing in. These tactics may work. Nevertheless, this type of trapping borders or coercions and overall is not a positive ethical practice. Default cookies. What about those silent trackers? Cookies are a major concern for Internet users. World Wide Web or www sites collect personal data from users through online transactions, registrations forms, log of user internet, and information from various other web pages. This information is often stored in cookies. Cookies are silent tracking devices that do not request the permission of the user to track data about them. Most users do not delete the massive amount of cookies stored on their computers because there are one or two cookies that store password for their favorite online shop online shopping sites. In addition, managing cookies is simply too complex for the average user. Many of the websites utilizing cookies to do so on a default basis. This means that they create and enable cookies on your personal computer, which collects and tracks information about you. Do you feel it is ethical for websites to gather information about you in the form of cookies and store that information in your personal computer? What if you have cookies in your machine that keep logs of every page you view on the web? Conservative. Default cookies cross a few too many boundaries of personal privacy. Even though almost every site inserts some types of cookies on your computer, it is still wrong. The worst types are the ones that track every website you visit. This is a complete invasion of personal privacy. Liberal. Most cookies have a logical and practical purposes and are functional requirements for the internet. Without cookies, you could not store products in shopping carts while shopping online. In addition, with cookies, customers would be required to remember all of the hundreds of IDs and passwords for all of their subscriptions to online merchants. Cookies are necessity for the e-commerce functions of the www. Determining whether cookies are an invasion of personal privacy or A necessity for internet shopping is all in the use. Cookies that gather information about are related to their services, border on attacks of personal privacy. Cookies that have a simple function are positive. It all depends on their purpose. Surveillance. Cameras and other types of recording and monitoring devices are found nearly everywhere in the public in, and in private homes. They are in almost all stores to detect shoplifting. You'll find them in elevators, police cars, traffic lights, parking lots, ATMs, personal security systems, to name just a few. There are even webcams set up in public parks and landmarks for websites. Everyone is under the surveillance monitor when going into town. Many people have home surveillance system as well, which monitors their drivers, children, child care providers, and even their children. Living under surveillance bring up many different types of ethical issues. One of which is who monitors these cameras. Maybe the monitoring in itself is necessary, but who are the individuals behind the cameras? Another aspect of surveillance is the use of global position system. Companies like GM and AT&T utilize these technologies in their products. This section will address the issues of surveillance, including including video surveillance, ethical, third-party monitoring, GPS, the GM OnStar program, parental surveillance, and activity monitoring. Video surveillance, is it ethical? Whether shopping or at the bank, you are guaranteed to be under video surveillance. Do you feel this an invasion of your personal privacy? Conservative, the only reason a person would need to concern themselves with video surveillance is if they were a criminal. Otherwise, they are irrelevant. Businesses have the right to monitor activities to protect themselves from thieves. Liberal, no one should be taking a video of you unless you authorize it. Everyone has a right to privacy. In addition, you have no way to protect the video of you. What if someone keeps it for personal reasons that you do not know about? There is a necessity for some level of security surveillance where theft and violence may occur. However, personal privacy is important and the rules governing the use and storage such video need to be taken into the account. Monitoring by third parties. What if others are just watching? Third parties often monitor surveillance systems. This means that the information surveillance cameras and equipment gathered may not be secure. It all depends on the person who is running and monitoring the system. Of course, this, this does not include cameras run by police, officer, or military. For example, the night security team at a five-star hotel often watches the hot tubs to check out the girls. In most cases, a woman would feel extremely uncomfortable if she knew that others were watching her for this specific reason via security cameras. In this case, an underpaid security officer or night shift person watching was watching the surveillance cameras. Is this right ethically? Can minimum wage night staff be trusted? Conservative, surveillance is an important part of security. However, senior management often overlooks the qualifications of staff running surveillance in terms of the security risks and privacy information impositions they represent. It is inappropriate for staff monitoring surveillance systems to be underqualified in any way. They should be security professionals. Just hiring someone off the street without a thorough background check is dangerous. Liberal. In reality, there are not enough qualified people to operate all of the surveillance systems in existence. Therefore, businesses need to take what they can get. There is nothing immoral about someone monitoring cameras and watching others. Workers are often hired at minimum wage to monitor the vast amount of surveillance equipment used in stores, banks, hotels, parking lots, and so on. Some people may consider this an invasion of privacy depending on the person monitoring their activity. Not all the security personnel that watch people on camera practice good ethics. In the worst case scenario, there have been incidents where cameras were placed in women's dressing rooms. However, this is not the likely result of hiring unqualified individuals to monitor surveillance. GPS tracking where you are and go. Recently, cell phone companies such as AT&T began offering a new service that allows customers with the same AT&T cell phone program to locate each other utilizing the company's global position system. Is this a different invasion of personal privacy? Conservative information made available for anyone to find you via your cell phone and global positioning system, or GPS, tracking is just plain scary. Fortunately, this type of service does not appear to be popular yet with cell phone users. Liberal, the, advan- the advancement of technology is amazing. Some individuals may find this type of technology useful. Anyway, you do not have to purchase the service if you do not want it. We have already entered the age where technology can identify people wherever they are. For example, people who use debit cards and credit cards leave a trail behind them. Similar technology utilizing GPS is simply real-time trails. Many people not like it, but we have gone too far to stop it. The General Motors OnStar program, GPS for security reasons. The most General Motors advertising contains huge plugs for their OnStar programs, which offers a variety of services utilizing GPS satellites. Many of the services are useful to the customers according to GM's OnStar advertising. Their services have saved lives by sending help immediately when there is an emergency. They also provide useful information such as directions or unlock locked doors for clients who have left their keys in the car. Do you feel that this type of GPS product use is an invasion of your personal privacy? Conservative, even though the services are useful at times, it is dangerous to start tracking everyone through GPS. There is absolutely no privacy. Once this information is available to General Motors, it is possible that hackers can get it. Liberal, utilizing GPS in a manner that potentially saves lives is an example of how to use technology to improve the quality of life. If you lock yourself out of your car with your children in it and the car running, you will find this type of service a blessing. This is the correct use of technology. On one side of the argument, you will find those who feel that even if used to positive means, using GPS system to track individuals or automobiles is unethical. In fact, GPS, in fact, these people may feel that technology has opened Pandora's box and that we are in for trouble. The other side of this argument believes that the use of technology to save lives or make life easier is positive and morally correct, even if it affects personal privacy to some degree. Parental surveillance. What if tracking is for you child safety? A specialty market has opened up in terms of parental surveillance. Parents can now purchase surveillance systems that monitor their children in the home. Children these days can potentially grow up under constant surveillance, similar to the Truman shows. When a child is old enough, the parents may or may not tell them that they are constantly under surveillance. They can also track their children while they are on the road with a global tracking system. In addition, they can take their children to daycare centers that utilize cameras to monitor the children. It's, it's also is all of this really necessary and healthy for the children? Do you feel performing around the clock surveillance on children is ethical? Conservative, there is something definitely wrong with this picture. Children have the right to privacy. The only case where surveillance may be useful is if the parents suspect a daycare center to be a questionable. We cannot argue that it is for the child's safety in any of the other circumstances, because even if you saw your children in a dangerous situation, you are viewing it after the fact, and the safety of the child was still jeopardized, whether you were monitoring them or not. Liberal, utilizing surveillance technology to protect your children is an intelligent choice. What if you suspect your teenager is doing drugs or the babysitter is not taking proper care of the child? You have the right to know. Performing surveillance on children and teenagers may help you find out if they are up to something that may be dangerous to themselves or others. However, having open communication with your children will usually provide the same information. Activity monitoring, no privacy in the office. A trusted 1099 contractor with access to critical projects suddenly start producing inferior work. When this is pointed out to her, she becomes very emotional and then claims that she is medically disabled. She then advises the company that she is filing a civil lawsuit against them. The senior management directs system to terminate her access to corporate system, and a note is sent to all employees of the companies that legal action was probable and to have no work-related discussion with the former contractor. Since this is a high-security company, all communications are recorded and monitored according to the company's security policy. The terminated contractor's name is added to the dirty word search. In the monitoring system, a day later, an email message is sent by an employee from a corporate aiming to a number of employees for a night out at a bar, and the contractor is included in the invitation. This message is detected by the security system and brought to management's attention. A note is sent from management reminding all employees that receive the list that while their personal time is their own. Since the intended venue was a bar, be very careful not to drink too much and disclose company business. One of the employees expressed anger at the infringement of her privacy and begins to probe as to exact nature of the monitoring system. Does she have an ethical right to complain about an invasion of personal privacy? Conservative management has the right to monitor their intellectual, financial, and physical property and personal in the workplace. The monitoring policy has been communicated to all employees. This is not a violation of personal privacy. The notion that a night out with someone is enacting of frivolous lawsuit against organizations shows incredibly bad judgment. The employee not only does not have an ethical right to complain, she should probably be terminated as well. Liberal, it is not necessary to constantly spy on employee. This breaks down trust and teamwork. Very few people would be willing to work in this type of distrustful environment. The employee is absolutely right. Her personal privacy has been violated and should be wise to find a more trusting work environment.